a wet race, and of course, when it comes to Spa, weather there, such a huge track, 4 miles around. So definitely, weather was something where challenging conditions for everybody. And the big thing we saw with this race, an exciting battle for the lead. Emma Kimmelinian coming up, taking the lead from Jamie Chadwick towards the closing stages of the race as the track seemed to be changing conditions. We even saw a little bit of sun towards the end of the race. And of course, with her again, her first win of the year, we saw Marta Garcia, first podium of the year, third place, Alice Powell, fourth. Starting with you, Daniel, I know Emma, Marta Garcia, quiet most of the season. A lot of people expect them to be up towards the front. Is this what we really expected to see? And do you think we could see this in the next few races?
Oh yeah, I would say that yes, Emma and Marta were definitely expected to be further up the order in the opening races of the season, but now finally they made it back to where they belong. And honestly, I'm so happy for Emma. She really did a great race. That pass around the outside of turn 12 on Jamie was really something else. That was for me the pass of the year so far. And we know that Emma Kimmelinen and especially Scandinavian drivers are good in these conditions. Emma always really enjoyed racing in the wet and in low grip conditions. So it's not like a big surprise to see her doing well especially in Spa, which she always said she was one of her favorite track. Yesterday, Jamie was really on another planet, both in free practice and in the remaining minutes of the qualifying after the red flag. So I would say that probably I didn't expect Emma to be that much faster than Jamie. But of course, conditions were very different. And also, I think that it was a little bit more of a progressive race, meaning that it started with the rain, but then it dried up towards the end, and there were not really showers during the race, which is always what makes it harder, in my opinion, for the drivers, because of course the conditions, especially in Spa, this is something that happens a lot here on this circuit. The conditions might be different from one corner to the next, and then when you have the dry conditions in one place and then the rain in the other, it makes a lot harder for everyone to manage the races. While now it was a little bit more straightforward. I think it wasn't easy at all, because of course we started on a very wet track, but then it dried up pretty progressively, in my opinion, from what we could see, at least from the images. So I would say that this probably, if you agree with me, helped a little bit more Emma in her management of the race.
Absolutely, and I think it gives a big confidence boost for the rest of the season. We've just passed half distance now, and not exactly the greatest start for Emma Kimmelinen to the second season of W Series, of course, the 2021 campaign. We were hyping her up as well, even coming into the season, and everyone was picking Kimmelinen as their picks to win. Even back in Austria, when it looked like Jamie Chadwick wasn't having a great start to the season. But it was Alice Powell who took the mantle in the first race at Styria, and then a week later, Jamie really did fight back. So Kimmelinen has just sort of been drifting around the midfield. Today was the perfect opportunity for her to come up. I was quite surprised the race happened. To be fair, I thought after what happened in the Formula One, we weren't going to have it. It kept getting delayed over hours. But it did happen. We spent the half of it under the safety car, but the half of the race we got was fantastic. I completely agree with you there, Daniel, because what a fantastic move. I've never seen a move around the outside in the wet at Fania than in any category. Definitely the move of the season. The skill and the grip level, the determination, it all rolls into one. Truly woman and machine there working together perfectly. And Jamie, yes, she had tyre problems as well. That's why she dropped further back as well in the race, because she was in the front. She was the guinea pig for everybody else. She was was generating spray and had clear visibility, but the front tires were overheating a lot. She was locking up a lot. She was understeering the car. She nearly lost it at Rouge, and that really allowed Emma Kymäläinen to sort of have that reference point. As soon as she dealt with Alice, she spent a couple of laps just sitting behind Jamie, monitoring where the track conditions were at their best and their worst, and really timed it perfectly. So a great race from Emma Kymäläinen. Even Ted Kravitz down in the pen called her the Flying Finn. Marta Garcia had a tricky qualifying session as well. Everyone had a tricky one because they were all disrupted with that red flag. But a great race from Marta Garcia, once again proving why she was so popular in the first series and why she deserves a seat in W Series once again. Definitely big days for there as well. Disappointing further down the field for a few of the drivers we expect to be higher up, but this is what we get at a wet race. It switches them around a little bit more. Different talents come to the surface. Some drivers are great in the dry, some are better in the wet conditions as well, and that's what we've had today. A completely mixed up grid as well, and the two stars, definitely Emma Kymäläinen and Marta Garcia.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, of course, Alice, as you mentioned, I think she was really not happy with her car today. It can happen, you know. She's still very much in the fight. And also, Nerea Marti was not really happy with their car today. But of course, one driver that deserves massive props today, I think, is Caitlin Wood. Only her second race in W Series after the return at Hungaroring. At Hungaroring, we spoke with Caitlin, and she said that she had technical issues throughout the whole weekend. So basically, that was not really what she could do in that car. And finally, she had another weekend to prove it, and she was fast from free practice, and then in qualifying, she was awesome. And then the top five for Caitlin, I was just texting her, and I'm so happy for Caitlin, because that was I think it was the best result for a reserve driver ever in W Series.
Absolutely. I was saying the commentary with Megan as well. When the race went green as well, side by side with a teammate. Where were they? They were side by side all the way through Malmedy, down through Ravage, Speaker's Corner, side by side through Puong as well. A corner that, if you get wrong, spits you off, side by side through Fania into Stavolo again. Some fantastic side by sides. So definitely a big improvement there from Caitlin Wood. I agree with you. She's definitely been sort of baptized into the W Series and the way they run now after a tricky weekend, as you said, in Hungary all those weeks ago. God, it goes like a flash, doesn't it? Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, let me just say how great of a race both Fabian Volvend and Abby Eaton had today after that horrific crash yesterday, and also props to the W Series mechanics that managed to scrap together the cars back. They had an amazing race. Fabian, I know that she was fast in Spa. She had raced here in the Ferrari Challenge before. She really liked the track, and she had an amazing race coming from the back. And also Abby Eaton getting that final point on the final lap. A little bit disappointed for Sabre Cook, that also she was really that close to get her first point this year. But yeah, I think both Fabian and Abby deserves a massive congratulations for these points today.
Yeah, Abby, especially after going through that wreck. Definitely, that was something. And of course, 16 drivers competed today. Because of that vicious crash, we had 2 drivers that did not race today. Thankfully, all the drivers from that wreck were okay and able to essentially walk away from the crash. Now, the change in conditions, as you all mentioned, that's where we saw tire management, some coming towards the front, some falling towards the back. Definitely for Emma, Marta, they seemed to have it where they were coming towards the front. We talked about how some drivers, they were really looking forward to this weekend, especially the high speeds, the corners. They're very familiar with this track. But of course, the race, definitely not in dry conditions, wet conditions, just really changed up everything. And of course, qualifying the way that was interrupted yesterday, I think really messed up a lot of people, especially with their fast lap. How different would the race have been had we seen dry conditions?
If the race was dry, I will just point out one name, Chadwick. we all know she would have won it. She's the best at adapting to a formula circuit of Formula One standards as well. Tori and Alice Powell, they seem to have a great setup as well. I would even, I know playing devil's advocate, but me and Megan were talking before the session started and said if it was a normal race weekend, I'd be looking out for Jess Hawkins. She's the Aston Martin development driver. She's done sim laps here at the circuit as well in the Aston Martin simulator. She's done more laps here in GT cars. She knows the track really, really well. I know a lot of the drivers do, but my pick would have been Jess Hawkins. I went for Jamie Chadwick because she was the safe bet, and it was close. But unfortunately, the rain came out, and as we're seeing even now in the in the Formula 3 race as well, where one of the cars has spun, Spa bites in the wet, and that's what we've seen, and that's going to cause a safety car. Spa bites hard in wet conditions. So if in the wet strategy, as well as I said earlier, the better drivers come out in these conditions. But it's such a heartbreak if you pull out the curtains and think, oh no, it's raining. It's definitely affected Chadwick. It's definitely affected Alice Powell, unfortunately. I thought Chadwick would have the worst weekend in wet weather because she can never seem to get it quite right. But no, it was Alice Powell. She dropped back into 4th place as well. She's lost crucial points in the title fight to Jamie Chadwick as well. But it's a situation where, with the adapting at times as well, I was quite surprised, especially when the sun came through. If we had the race delayed for another half hour and then gone to a full proper start, I'm convinced by the end somebody would have bolted on the slicks and had to go on that just to see how far he can get up. A bit like how Lando Norris did in practice 3 this morning, because he could get out there. And of course, with Formula One cars, it's more power. So of course he was sliding around. With a lower spec Formula 3 car, it's just about drivable. As even we saw during the red flag period for F1, the go-karts are going around on slick tires until they put it in the gravel. But still, I've raced go-karts with slick tires in the rain. It is possible to control it. It is possible to get it around. So I reckon we were denied a charge through the field. And I reckon it would have been Volverend because she was adapting best to the conditions throughout the race. We saw her make a couple of great moves towards the end.
Yes, I would totally agree with you, Josh. On a dry track, I think I will totally agree with you. Jamie Chadwick proved that she had the better pace yesterday. As you said, also Fabienne was if she had more laps towards the end, I'm pretty sure that she would have also passed both Jess Hawkins and Caitlin Wood and finished in the top 5. Also, probably Nerea Marti would have been pretty higher up the order. And I think and pretty much, of course, Sarah Moore and Belen Garcia, but they had pretty much their cars rebuilt from zero yesterday tonight. So it was always been difficult to know what their cars could do in the drive after the full rebuild. But yes, I'll totally agree with you on what you said. Also on Jess Hawkins, that I would say that she has done a great step forward since she has been announced as a development driver of the Aston Martin F1 team. I think she spent a lot of hours at the simulator, and also she's taking part of in a lot of programs with them. And she's made a great step forward. So yes, pretty much agree with you.
I saw her at Snetterton just after she was announced for the British Touring Car Championship, and she did something that I didn't spot any other driver do. She walked the track. I got there Saturday morning at about 7 a.m. and I looked out, and there she was walking the track. How she's taken that F1 mentality and putting it into her one-off appearance in the touring cars, and she is so lovely to speak to as well. When I was lining up before I had my jab up the nose for COVID testing, she stopped, had a quick chat, and said, "I saw you walking the track." And he said, "Yeah, just something I've picked up from Formula One. Best way I thought to get a relationship with my engineers." And I thought that's brilliant. And I'll tell you one thing as well. If we're talking about mixed conditions, it's raining hard again at Spa, and so hard they've had to deploy the safety car because they might have to, they've got to get one of the cars out of the pit lane, but it's slippery almost again, and they were almost to dry running. So it swings and roundabouts for the weather at Spa.
Definitely we'll be talking a lot more about weather and Spa in this program. And of course, as we've been talking a lot about Jamie Chadwick, 3 races left: Sanderfoot, Circuits of America in the United States, and Mexico City. Those are the remaining tracks. The way Jamie Chadwick's running, is there any potential track, especially starting with you, Daniel, that you see Jamie Chadwick not being a favorite to win, especially if we have dry conditions throughout?
That's a great question. I think Jamie has not raced in any of the remaining three circuits that on the calendar. I think Bijske has, of course, driven on the Zandvoort track that will be on next weekend. But I'm not sure about the others. I'll have to check. Of course, Zandvoort, after the it's been rebuilt in the past couple of years. Not many races going on there until this year, of course. But not sure. It's very open. We see one driver like Jamie being like 1 second clear of the competition one day, and the day after she's 3 seconds slower than Emma. So it's never been as open as this. Really difficult to predict. I'm pretty sure that Jamie has not driven on any of the remaining three circuits. So that will make it a little bit more difficult for her. Probably Zandvoort, of course, if Bijske will be in shape, because of course today she was back in the paddock after being discharged from the hospital tonight. She had a couple of interviews with the W Series team, and I know that she said that she's fine, of course, but she was a little bit in pain. Of course, she was sore, and I know that she couldn't wait to get back home and have some rest and be fully ready for next weekend. If she's in shape, I think she might be back in contention for the victory. But of course, as we see also Marta Garcia, maybe she's back in momentum. If she can carry that momentum, she can be back on the podium also in the next weekend. And then we have a long wait for the two North American rounds. So I think everything can still change after next weekend's Dutch Grand Prix.
Bear with me here, because I've just been thinking as well, and I've come up with quite an interesting little thing that I could say here. I've been thinking back to this season as well. Chadwick did well in Austria. It's a high elevation circuit. She didn't do so well at Silverstone. It's a flat circuit. She did quite well in Hungary, elevation circuit. She did quite well as well here today at Spa, high elevation change as well. So the races coming up, we've got Zandvoort, which has got so much elevation change, it feels like you're on a roller coaster, and Kota as well, with the high turn one and the drop down through the Mickey Mouse section as well. The only flat circuit we've got left on the calendar is Mexico, and I've been thinking back even to season one. Jamie never did well at tracks when the elevation was flat. Never did well back at Assen either in the second race. She never did well either at Zolder. If I think she lost that one out, didn't she? And I think when the elevation circuit is flat, Jamie struggles, and I think it's because she likes the car with a higher rev limiter with the change of the gears, and hits the rev limiter more down the straights. I mean, if you remember at Silverstone, we were stood there thinking, like, why is she so slow down the straights? Why is she so far off the pace? She was 6 or 7 seconds separated from Power and Volvo, and yeah, from that one. So I think she's going to struggle a lot at Mexico. It's a high elevation. It's a high altitude circuit. What was it 2,000 meters above sea level? On a circuit that's going to be very, very hot as well. So there's not going to be much oxygen coming into the engine. And we already see that she struggles. So I think Mexico, Jamie's going to have a lot of problems there. And if that happens, I'm literally going to resign from a commentator and employ David Coulthard as my second in command and have the racing gods with crystal balls in front of us, because I think I would have predicted the future a little bit more.
Good point there. Also, she did the Formula Regional European Championship in 2020 last year, and I followed her throughout all the season. And she told me at the end of the year that her favorite two circuits that she visited in 2020 were Mugello and Imola, as well as you said, two circuits that have elevation changes. So that might be a point. I have never thought about this, but yes, you could have a point there.
It just dawned on me. because it's the only explanation for Silverstone, and then for the rest of the seasons as well, back in season 1.
It's just amazing. Definitely, we want to hear from everyone in the chat room. Do you believe Jamie Chadwick just has something about tracks with elevation changes where she's just far superior than the competition? Because it seems if she's out towards the front, she is just hard to beat. But definitely, still 3 races left in the championship. Only takes one bad race, and next you know, the entire championship picture could be turned upside down.